Welcome back to codingcat.dev, where we give you cats the freshest dose of dev snacks. Here is Alex Patterson and Brittany Postma. This episode brought to you by Storyblok. Build anything and publish everywhere. Whoa.
Oh,
Video cut off. Oh no. We'll have to super talk about Storyblok, I guess, because I don't know what happened there. Anyways, it's been a minute, so we're back to rookie status on podcasting, I guess, after 3 years. I went to Africa and it was amazing. So I got to see all the animals. They tried to kill me. No, they didn't try to kill me.
You just did that? You just went to Africa?
We were there. Has it been 4 weeks? Maybe, almost.
Whoa,
something
where?
like that. So still trying to get back into the swing of things. Start a new job. All the craziness is happening on this side of the house. So getting back into the podcasting mix is exciting. You are like the second person that we've had, and usually it's I don't know, at least once a week. So we're slowly putting it back together.
I was gonna say, didn't we get to talk about vacations and stuff? But
we did, yeah. I think we had one show, so
we did
still putting life back together, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we have Sam Littlefair on the show. We're going to talk all about slicing up SvelteKit with Prismic's new slice machine. That's a mouthful. But first, we need to know a little bit more about Sam. So how's it going, Sam?
It's going good. Yeah. What do you want to know?
The last thing I heard before we started was that you moved to Italy, and I need to know all about that.
This is perfect. I'm on the live stream, and I actually have something interesting to talk about because I just got here 2 weeks ago, and everybody loves hearing that you've moved to Italy.
That's amazing. So what part of Italy did you move to?
Tuscany, which you were saying.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm glad we saved it for the stream.
Yeah, I'm actually a lucky guy. My wife is studying, so she just did a college. She's a jeweler, and she just did a college program in Scotland. So I followed her to Scotland, and now she's doing an MFA here in Italy. So I'm just following my wife around, just doing the husband thing.
Did I hear you correctly? You said jeweler?
Yeah.
So what is a degree in jeweling?
Yeah, so you can do it at a bunch of different levels, but so the most important skill is goldsmithing, so she can make rings and necklaces and stuff. And there's the practical side, which is learning how to fabricate and polish and create jewelry. And then there's the more conceptual side, which is learning the art of it and how to design it and stuff. She's trying to do all of it. It's very, very cool to watch and learn. I've learned so much more about jewelry than I ever thought I would know in my life.
I would have never considered that to be a degree. I would think it's a trade that you just pick up. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people just do it through apprenticeship, probably historically.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you yourself, what's your journey been like, Sam? So how did you make it to Prismic?
I think it was a little bit of an unconventional route. I started in journalism, so I spent a long time writing long articles for newspaper for starters as a freelancer, and then I wound up working. I got hired as the digital guy at a magazine, so I was kind of the young guy who comes in to work on the website, and I was writing articles and newsletters and stuff, doing WordPress and MailChimp. And I loved it, but there was always something that was a little bit troubling, which was I like writing, but I really like this web stuff too, And eventually I was getting really frustrated with WordPress. And we actually wound up weirdly in this partnership with Ghost CMS, which at the time, when I learned what that was, I was oh, this is so cool. They're trying to do this WordPress thing, only bring it into the 21st century. And that started getting me to learn a little bit about Node.js and modern web development. And I really loved it. So then after that, I just kept going with it. That partnership ended, but I kept doing learning CSS and then JavaScript. And eventually I just decided to take the leap. I did a coding boot camp. At this point, my wife and I were living in France, so we actually moved to Paris so that I could do this coding boot camp that was 10 weeks on a campus in the middle of Paris. And we arrived March 1st, 2020.
That's a tough time to arrive.
So like the program was supposed to, did start on like the 21st, and it was like March 10th. My wife got COVID. March 12th, I got COVID. March 14th, they shut down the whole country. And I'm there like with COVID on my computer, like writing emails to the school, annoyed, like, so is the program still happening? And they're like, we don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, oh, right. It's like the whole world is going to shut down.
Paris was serious too. Like the lockdown there was pretty intense from what I hear. So did you end up staying there the whole time?
Yeah, so I did the boot camp online. We had like a 25 square meter, like a 250 square foot apartment that my wife and I lived in for a year and a half, not knowing we were both going to be stuck in it 24 hours a day.
That's tough.
But after the program, I was looking for jobs, and I, through crazy coincidence, found a connection to Levi, who is at the time was the head of the education team at Prismic, and he and I got coffee, and it turned out that Prismic, the CMS, and my interest in web development came from an interest in CMSs. It turned out it was 3 blocks away from my apartment in Paris. So I got a job at Prismic working on documentation there, and it just worked out perfectly. I loved it from the start. The people there are awesome. We've got great coworkers. We've got a nice office in the middle of Paris in a beautiful area. And the product is really great. So I've never really looked back. It's like, I did this big career transition, and it kind of went a lot better than I ever could have imagined. So I don't know, I feel like a lucky guy.
That's really cool. So like you talked about how you're kind of more on the writing side of things and CMS interest, but like the technical side, did you feel like that boot camp was enough to like thrust you forward on the technical side, or like how does that look?
Yeah, because our team at Prismic is called the education team, and I think it's the coolest job because basically we write the documentation. At the time, we were a lot more involved. Like, this is 3 years ago now. We were really involved with like making demo projects and stuff, or like making instructional videos. And so, I came in with a pretty good foundation in React, and it was like first day on the job was like, all right, now learn Vue. And then next day it's like, now learn Next. And then the next day it's like, now learn Next, And I was just so happy. I was like, this is so cool. The first month I was at the company, all I did was learn a bunch of different frameworks, and I got the best job I could possibly have.
That's really cool. So that sounds like mostly front-end JavaScript side of things. Did you have to learn anything on the back end?
I didn't have to do too much.
Or I guess
had a background in
non-JavaScript, I should say.
Express. Yeah. I had a background in Express a little bit from the boot camp,
Sure.
but then I've never gone much deeper than like the standard kind of Next.js, SvelteKit backend stuff.
Nice.
Never really had to. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've always kind of tried to live in the JavaScript, TypeScript ecosystem my entire career, and it's worked out well. But now, like, we're kind of starting to get into like, I need to write some Rails, I need to write Flutter. Like, there's so much more stuff, and it's just like nonstop. It's interesting. And the education side at Prismic, is that similar to DevRel, or you have DevRel on top of that?
Yeah, we also have DevRel. So I don't know how really you make a distinction. Like, I think DevRel is more at Prismic. It's more like active, like kind of going out. DevRel also just kind of, we organically assigned responsibilities. And DevRel at Prismic wound up with like building our SDKs and stuff, whereas education team is more focused on documentation and support mostly. And we actually also recently built a whole academy, like a learning platform for learning Next.js and Prismic.
Yeah, I think I thought that you were a DevRel because of how much that you do out in the community and like building stuff for Prismic. So I just assumed that you were on Alex Trost, who like I knew Trost before I knew you, and I just like, I thought that you were a DevRel for them, and so I just assumed that's how a lot of companies work. But not every company does DevRel the same, and so it's just a weird. System.
I mean, DevRel's not in my job description, but I talk to Alex a ton, and I think I'm kind of maybe an honorary member of the team or something.
You definitely should be, and I mean, you do a good job. And DevRel has no like solid definition, so like there's no right or wrong way to do it. So I mean, who's to say they're doing it the wrong way or the right way? Like it's perfectly reasonable the way they're doing it. So you're doing a fantastic job building things and putting it out there. I think you're doing great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's really cool to like learn more about you. We're gonna take a quick break to pay the bills, and then when we get back, we'll jump into Slice Machine. Sound good?
Awesome. Cool.
How in the world could I forget about this?
There's no need to freak out. We have Storyblok.
Robert, you're right.
But we still need a plan.
Okay, how much time do we have left until the launch?
24 hours.
Okay, let's go.
We are ready to publish.
So let's get this baby online.
Let's get this baby online. All right. Yeah.
Before we dive into Slice Machine, you casually dropped in there that you saw a bunch of big animals in Africa. I need to know a little bit more about that.
Oh my gosh. So it was interesting. So we went to Kenya on the east side of Africa, and you name it, the big five, we saw it, and I can never remember what it is, but it's like elephant. These aren't the big five because I'm already messing it up. Elephant, we saw lions, we saw cheetah, we saw leopard, rhino, both black rhino, white rhino. My bucket, like this is my wife's bucket list trip, but my animal I wanted to see for sure was a white rhino, and everyone laughed at me. They're like, well, that's not going to happen. And it was like the second spot we went, boom, there's a white rhino. So that was pretty incredible. We did miss the big migration. Like we still saw tens of thousands of animals. But like 2 weeks later, essentially, they started to move more from Tanzania up to Kenya. The weather was just weird while we were there. It was actually colder there on the equator than it was in Michigan. So it was kind of that transition into their winter, and it was just a cold spell. So it was pretty interesting. But
Wow, sounds amazing.
Some of the like even the birds, there's like a African stork or something like that. It's scary as heck. Like that thing's just wicked. I don't know. Yeah, I'll share an album with you when we get done. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I backpacked in Kenya 15 years ago.
See, that's amazing to me because like getting out of the vehicle was like a chore. Like they didn't want us to go anywhere. So it's pretty awesome that you were able to like backpack in Kenya.
Well, a story for another day is the time that I almost got gored by a wild buffalo. So I don't.
I totally believe that. Like, there's got to be like 20,000 ways to die.
Yeah.
Very cool. Sorry. So yeah, we are back, and we're gonna jump into Slice Machine. Sam's got a little share for us.
So I'm just gonna walk through, see how far we can get with setting up a project with Slice Machine.
Wait, screen share works today?
Screen share is working today. I tested it like an hour ago. I had to I made an account and everything just so I could make sure it was working. There was no problem.
I'm just giving you crap.
So Prismic, we entered in like we were founded in 2013, and we kind of like were a headless CMS before headless CMS was even coined. We were very early in like the serverless headless game. And then a couple years ago, we started kind of evolving away from that a little bit, because headless CMS means like you do your content on an API, right? And that's kind of isolated, and then you query that into your app. And we started doing something a little bit differently, which is we created a really robust developer tool that actually runs locally on your computer, which we call Slice Machine. And that's actually like on your computer in your code base. And we've started like being more active, taking more ownership of the code base. So it's not really headless CMS anymore. So, and it's also kind of like, it's not just about content, it's about creating entire like web pages and website components. So we came up with this new term that we call headless website builder. So we're kind of evolving, we're kind of growing it into something that we consider to be a little bit more mature. So part of the demo that I want to do for you guys today is showing you like what it looks like to edit content in Prismic, but we'll get to that at the end, because for starters, I want to show a little bit what it looks like to actually like code a website with Prismic, which I think is a really nice experience. And I'm starting, like, if you want to give this a try, you can follow exactly what I'm doing, which is just starting from the Prismic homepage, and then just, you know, follow the standard flow. I'm not even signed in right now, which is crazy.
I might have to follow along with you, see how this goes.
Oops, I'm already. Let's go back. Log in. I don't even know how I got signed out. It's almost like I did it on purpose. So from here,
I think either your screen share is frozen, or maybe we're sharing the wrong desktop, maybe, or something. So we see the homepage, but
you're
it's
still
not,
seeing the homepage. Yeah.
it's not doing anything.
Let me see.
Oh, maybe screen share doesn't work today.
I swear it was working.
Oh no! Am I gonna have to work during the podcast? This isn't good.
See, it's like he just put me on the spot yesterday. There's something different.
Okay, here we go. So I just clicked on login, and once you log in or create an account, this is where you wind up.
Nice.
So
this has changed. This is cool.
Yeah. So with Slice Machine, our developer tool, we have created integrations with 3 frameworks, which we see working really, really well with Prismic. So it's Next, and SvelteKit. And I'm really excited because we just launched the SvelteKit integration 2 weeks ago, and I've been a big Svelte fan since 2020, and I've been advocating for it at Prismic for a long time. So we set you up, you can choose these 2 starters, like kind of similar to if you create a Svelte project. We've got a skeleton one, we've got a demo that has more features. And then also you can, if you're really, really brave, you can do all the config yourself. I recommend starting with the minimal one. I'm just going to call this coding cat September 23. And then this is going to just lead you through the process of like downloading and setting up your project. And it'll set it up with everything pre-configured, the whole connection to the API and everything. Now, it can be a little bit difficult to keep everything straight. I'm going to use 2 terms a lot. So I'm going to try to get it all figured out right now. There's the page builder and there's Slice Machine. If you're on prismic.io, the website, you're using the page builder. This is where you manage the content. It's typically where like marketers or writers or content creators, they hang out on the website, which is the page builder. If you're working on your computer in local, this is Slice Machine. This is where we want the developers to go.
I'm going to see if Alex can get the hang of this today, because I did yesterday, like, get the hang of it. Like, you were saying which one to go to, and I was finally like going to the right one.
Yeah, which made me happy that you did figure it out, because we obviously, you know, as somebody who like does technical writing, I worry that people aren't going to pick up, you know, kind of our corporate jargon. But I was happy that by the end of it, we were all on the same page. So what this is doing right now is it's just downloading the package, and you can see it's doing the install. It's also going to, in the starter project, we have a bunch of content models and actually some documents. I think in this one, there's like 2 documents. And so it's actually going to push those to Prismic. And this is, again, this is a theme that we'll come back to again and again. There's sort of like a cycle that happens between your code base and the CMS. So like, we're going to make changes in the code base. We'll push those changes to the CMS, and then you create content in the CMS, and it gets queried back into the application, right? So it's kind of like, it's the circle of life, like what you just saw in Africa.
Good.
So, I mean, we don't actually have to open the repository because we're already in the repository here. But it gives you this prompt. Do you want to open your repository? It's the same thing if you click here.
So interesting side note, I'm on Brave browser, and I had to take my shields down. So just FYI.
Okay, good to know.
If you have to run.
So I'm going to jump over to VS Code now. And Alex, actually, I wanted to ask you, I saw that you did a course for how to use a headless CMS. What was your experience like with that?
Oh my goodness, did I?
Oops, sorry, I opened the wrong one.
I don't even remember the course. I have to be honest. Was it with Prismic? Couldn't have been.
That was probably Builder, wasn't
No,
it?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was with Prismic.
It was either Builder or Sanity, probably, is my guess. So I've used a ton, just kind of freelance work and then agency stuff. I used to work at Builder.io. I guess mentally, like from WordPress way back in the day, it was always frustrating kind of having both in the same spot and like painful in many ways. And so headless always made more sense to me, and APIs always made more sense to me, and that side of things. So I think there is some pros and cons to a headless setup too, though, which can become interesting, especially for like your marketing team, and you want to like drop certain, I'll call them components in. So you want a cool table, or you want to like a code snippet to do specific things. Like that side of it, it was always what drew me like to Builder, and like Prismic has kind of, I'm sure we'll talk through it, ways around that, but it's always super painful for like a developer that wants to write in like Markdown all day, but then they want to like add this really neat like widget into their page, and what that looks like. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my rough experience.
Yeah, I mean, there are some trade-offs with a headless CMS, right? Like, you kind of have to configure a lot of the connection yourself. They can be a little bit error-prone, which is something like, for me as a documentation writer, I've had to figure that out working with users or writing documentation for users, is like, how do we avoid the foot guns inherent in this kind of architecture?
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
So this is just the skeleton website, really, really basic. It's a multi-page website, but in a very, very basic way. I'm gonna copy in. I'm not gonna spend too much time like explaining all the code that I'm using and everything, but I am going to copy in a little bit of like boilerplate that I have ready. So I've got like just a little bit of typography CSS that I'm just going to copy paste in.
Would you mind just doing like 1+ maybe on the zoom level?
For sure.
Yeah,
is that good?
That's good. Perfect. Yep.
Cool. And I'm also, so I've been, have you guys checked out open props at all?
Yes. We've talked about open props. Yep.
I've just been playing with it, actually, mostly just with this project, and I've been having fun with it. So this is just, I'm just copying in just basically some typography here. Also, I've got this global selector to add a little bit of basic styling to every section element, and that's because, just remember that, we're going to come back to that, the section elements.
Cool.
And then I think that's everything I need for now. Yeah. So this is pretty basic. I'll give you a quick walkthrough of what's going on here. We've got 2 different config files. So this is our slice machine config. So this is the config for the actual dev tool. And then we also have like a API connector, which is this file. And this is where the API config lives. You don't need to know too much about what's in these files. It's mostly boilerplate. We've also got this project set up with a few different packages, and the most important one is our Prismic Svelte package, which is a component library for rendering content from Prismic. It also provides the client that we'll use to query content from the API. But first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to start by creating components, which I think is the best way to kind of show the power here. So this is Slice Machine. Like I said, this is the one that's running on local. You can see here it's on localhost 9999.
And so when we ran like npm dev, it spun up both the SvelteKit server as well as Slice Machine. Okay.
Exactly. We got both running here. So Slice Machine is responsible for doing all of the content stuff in your code base. So like, let's see, let's take a little look around here. Inside lib, we've got this slices directory, Slices are what we call like content blocks in Prismic. So like a section of a web page is a slice. And right now there's only one slice in here. It's the rich text slice. So, oh, I added open props and I've got this new styling now. So this is just one rich text slice. It's just a big block of rich text. But the kind of tricky things here, like if you've ever like done content manually, like, you know, it gets a little bit annoying. Like the data structures for content can be a little bit convoluted. So one of the really important things that Slice Machine does is it creates these content models. This is just a JSON description of like the structure of your content. And it also like creates some mock content for you. And it also creates your TypeScript types for you. But that's a lot of explaining. Why don't I just show you? This is my page type. This is like the very basic page that we're working with. And I'm going to create a new slice in this page. I'm going to call it, I was talking to Kevin at Svelte Society the other day. And so then I was like, oh, I need to make a demo project. What should I do? And Kevin and I were talking about Svelte Summit. And I was like, well, I'll just do a clone of the Svelte Summit website because I like that website.
Nice.
So we're going to do a clone of like a basic like event website.
Can you just make the whole one for this year for him? Just like push it up.
I bet that would go over, that would earn me some brownie points.
I think it probably would.
So you might have noticed in the background, I clicked create and this popped up here. So this is like the boilerplate for our component. But before I start coding that, I'm going to add some properties to this component. So it's just going to be a hero slice. So make that a little wider. I'm just going to add a text field, and I'm going to customize that so that I can have an H1 and some paragraphs. And this, everything that I'm doing there, it's getting saved in the JSON model. Now this is like something I have a hard time, save. I get really excited about this and it feels kind of nerdy, but we've put a lot of work into building this simulator. So this actually simulates your components while you're building them.
So
just give it.
excuse me, sorry. So at this point, like there's no code being pushed to your repo, right? Or like
Not
to your
yet.
code base.
Yeah, this is all still local.
Okay.
So we don't have anything actually in the CMS yet. So I'm going to put in, we have a rich text component that we provide. So I'm going to put that in, and the rich text itself comes from, the component is the slice, and the rich text property is on slice.primary.text. So that's the property that I just created. And now Slice Machine is creating content mocks for us here. And I can edit these mocks. Like we actually have full-fledged editor here. Oops, I didn't click save. So we've got a full-fledged editor. So I can do something like this. Hello, this is my hero. And I'm like getting a preview of the content in real time. And I can actually save it. And when I save it, it saves the mocks to my file system. So I can
cool.
come back to it. Yeah. I'm actually going to change one thing. By default, it's a single paragraph, but I actually want to have multiple paragraphs here. And then I'm just going to refresh this. Coding on the fly.
I think maybe when you made that update, there was a save button that you didn't click. Yes, that.
Try that again. And I'm going to copy paste a little bit more CSS here. Let's say I'm going to call this coding camp. And fall 2023. Yeah, so now I can just do whatever I want with this component, just treat it like a regular Svelte component. And I'm just getting my content from slice.primary.text. And right now I'm getting mock content, but when I deploy this, it will pull content from the actual API. So let's put in a little bit of CSS here. I'm using open props, so I'm getting this cool background. And I'm worried I'm getting into the weeds too much here, but something that I really love about Prismic, that I've always really respected about what we do, is that we have really nice data structures. And one of those things is the way we deliver text, I think, is actually really nice. We deliver text in like an array. It's not like a big chunk of HTML, and it's not like some really impossible to read big blob of data. It's like an actually like pretty simple to read. Here, I'll actually show you. I'm going to say style color equals black json.stringify slice.primary.text no to. It's just so that I can show you what the text looks like coming from Prismic. So this is the JSON representing this text here. And it's actually like almost human readable. Like as a developer, you can kind of decipher it, understand what it means. And it's also really easy to work with. Like for instance, if you had an array of text and you just wanted to pull out the headings to make a TOC or something, it's actually pretty easy to do that. And one of the ways that that becomes really practical is you can actually choose to handle each element separately. So I'm going to create heading 1.svelte, and I'm also going to create paragraph.svelte. This is just to show you kind of like how Prismic is kind of customizable. In heading 1.svelte, I'm just going to paste a little bit of, like I've got a little bit of styling from my H1. I'm also going to transform it from like a regular string of text with spaces into like, I'm going to replace the spaces with new lines. And then I'm going to do something really similar with the paragraph elements. And then here, I just say import paragraph and import heading. And then in my rich text component, I can say paragraph. Oh, sorry, that wasn't correct. I need to say components, paragraph, and heading 1, heading 1. And so this is now saying use this component to render any paragraph elements and use this component to render any heading 1 elements. And now we're getting like a slightly more interesting hero. Nice. And I just realized I didn't, I need to add some fonts. So I'm just going to add some fonts in my static folder. Ba-ba-boom. And let's see if those will load up just like that.
So at this point, like if I'm in marketing and I'm just like wanting to use this is more the dev side still, where you're like setting up components how you want them and what they're looking like.
Yeah, this is still what your developer is going to be doing.
Okay.
But why isn't this? Something strange is happening here. I've got a bug in my component. I'll come back to that in a minute. But you were asking about who's editing this. So far, yeah, everything we've done is just the developer's job. And the developer is like creating the component, previewing the component, you know, putting mock content into it. And this is all, again, happening locally. This is all happening in Slice Machine and in the code base. So now I've made some changes. I created this new hero slice. I added it to my page type. So now I'm going to push these changes to the CMS. And now I've pushed it and my marketers can use it. I've got this link to the CMS here. So I can jump to the CMS. Yes, I've run my project. I've gone through all of this, so I'm just going to close that. And now my editor has access to the hero text slice. So they can say coding. Yeah. And then the really wonderful thing is, because we did all of the initial coding in the code base, this is like all type safe, you know? This is like, we've already made it in the code base. We've tested it in Slice Machine, you know, like in Slice Machine in the simulator, you can actually test it on different sizes. So like we now have, the marketing team now has a component that they can use in their content with confidence, knowing that it'll present safely. So let's publish that and then come back to the home page of our website, just like that.
Nice. That's very cool.
I think it's a pretty decent flow.
Yeah, it's really neat how like the dev side of it, you're getting a preview and an idea of what's happening, and then once you push, you have, you know, some confidence up there that like someone in marketing or whoever, like a guest even, probably has access to this and they can code to their heart's desire and use these components and things like that. That's really neat.
Yeah. Now, I've got like 5 components that I could make, but that would get pretty repetitive because you're just going to watch me copy pasting a lot of content.
Sure.
But the other thing about Slice Machine that we're still kind of like figuring out the power of this is, by building Slice Machine, we're now like, the CMS is now actually in the code base, which means we can do all sorts of kind of like new exciting things. I'm actually going to open up the repository that I was working on with Brittany yesterday. Because yesterday, or maybe, I just realized I can't, because Brittany, that was you doing that demo.
No, it's on mine.
But give me a second. Let me think this through for a second, because one of the really cool things that we can do is integrate the editor with the code base. So this editor is the editor we designed a few years ago now. It's starting to show its age a little bit. And so we've got a team right now working on redesigning this editor. I can show you what the new one looks like. Just give me a second here.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way that we're presenting it and talking about it, it seems like there's a lot, right? But in reality, like if you think about a team and how it's structured, like it's pretty standard for like devs to go build components and have the code base and things like that. And then for your marketing team to kind of go into the actual page and make updates. And of course, put 1,000 requests back to the devs. We need this component, that component. And like to be able to work through that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think the difference is like, we've put the entire workflow of developers in their code base. So they're working like where they're comfortable. We're not forcing developers. And the way Prismic, used to be is there was actually like, here you've got your documents tab, you've got your media library tab, and then there was another one that was like your models tab. And you'd go to that tab to like design all your models. And then you would need to like write the TypeScript types for them or version them somehow.
I did feel like this flow was much better than the last time I used a CMS. It was like I would have to do all of the manual work of like setting up the models, even though it was in a GUI. Like I still had to like worry about setting all of that up. This was more like automated for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And can you run like the page with all of its data locally as you're like creating these two? So it's not just a preview up there?
Yeah, so this, you mean like this?
Yeah, that is it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is it. It's running locally. It's pulling the data from the API. So like if you want, you can do your, your classic kind of SvelteKit coding and see your changes live here. Nice. Go through all your different open props gradients.
And then if you change that in the Slice Machine, you can see that it queries the local host. You can see your browser refresh to query that, and it refreshes that to grab the image from it.
That's cool.
And so I'm going to see if I can do something quickly here. So this is the new editor that we're working on right now. And this is probably only maybe a few dozen users have access to this right now, maybe a few hundred, I'm not sure, but
It's
it's
like
in
a
beta
hot take
testing.
moment right here. Holy smokes.
This is the sneak peek. We've got a default SEO and metadata tab. We've got this like cool text-based editing. Let's see, what have I got here? Oh, perfect. This is actually showing up with my previews and stuff, or with my screenshots. So like here I can do like your kind of what you've got in Notion. If you say like, you can do formatting with your keyboard. We've got this like selector here. It's a really nice editing experience. But if you're willing to bear with me for a second, I would like to show you kind of the most exciting part of this. And in order to do that, I have to, I'm going to have to make I'm going to have to actually deploy this and do a little bit of magic. Do we have a moment for that?
We'll just go, hey, Ashley, edit this part, and she'll figure it all out.
Do all the magic. I was going to say,
perfect.
I have a live one, but I would have to share my screen and show you the Prismic side of it to see this, to see the actual slice machine part, right?
Well, if you guys are willing to be patient with me, I'm happy to show you the process because it's actually not that complicated.
Yeah, take your time.
I've got this repository that has our new editor configured. So all I've done is in my config, I've just changed the repository name to this one. And then I'm going to go to Slice Machine and I'm going to refresh. Slice Machine is going to register that the repository has changed. So now this is the demo that I was doing with Brittany the other day. And it can see, so far in this project, I've only actually got two components, this hero text and this rich text. And it can see that.
So you updated your local config for Prismic to read the repository, a different repository from Prismic.
Exactly. So it was the one that I just created, and now it's looking at this repository that I created a few days ago. It can see that the models are different, and so it's actually going to like delete the stuff that I pushed the other day, and it's going to update the stuff that I just created. So I'm going to push these changes. Now at the same time, I'm going to deploy this project, and Brittany's familiar with this process because we went through this.
Yeah. If like in the page.svelte file, you just have the slice zone. So everything is just kind of pieced together for you. So even if you have extra components, they just live there and it doesn't matter. Right. Yeah. And everything is just kind of pieced together inside of Prismic by marketers, like however they want it to be. And the extra components just live there for them to play with however they need. And then the slice zone component lives in the page. And all the data is pulled from the server and built statically. Pre-rendered, you can build it from the server too. So it's like everything is just pieced together in such a good developer experience, but also like really good for marketers. It's really well thought out.
Yeah, that means so much to hear you say that. It's like, it's true. For your page component, this is the entire page component, which is just, it's taking all of those slice components that we make in Slice Machine, it's importing them all from the directory where Slice Machine puts them. And then you're getting your data from the API, which is just a normal API query. And this is just the boilerplate that we got with the starter. But if you had to write this code yourself, it wouldn't be too hard. Oh, right, I'm going to take out these pre-renders because they were causing a little bit of trouble for me earlier. And then,
did you still have the trouble with pre-renders? Because I didn't yesterday.
Yeah, I'm just superstitious.
You're just being.
I don't pre-render my stuff. I server render.
Don't mess with the demo guide.
So you've got the components and the data, and the slice zone, which is the kind of the component that renders everything. It just splices together the components with the data and outputs the web page. So this is your entire page component.
I mean, for someone that does design systems, like it is the true epitome of like composable components, and you're piecing it all together in a way that makes it so simple. And then they live there still, so you can use them in any way that you need. And the marketers can move them around, add stuff to them, and it all gets injected in the right ways.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to add a new project from Git. Let's see, coding cat, import, deploy. It sees that it's SvelteKit, so this will just take a second. And so the reason I'm doing this is because our new editor, this one, it actually will interact with your deployed website in a way that's really cool that I'm going to show you here. If this deploys quickly and successfully. When I was getting ready for our demo yesterday, Brittany, I tried deploying like 20 times and it wasn't working. It was one of those days where you're like, I don't know what's going wrong.
And then I did it, and I think we had 8 minutes left in the stream, and he's like, how long do you think it will take us to deploy this to Vercel? And I was like, well, I did used to work for Netlify, so I don't know. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe a minute. And
it just
us,
went off without a
maybe
hitch.
5 minutes to get it done.
Oh no, but I'm getting a 500 error and I don't know why.
Because you took the pre-rendering out and you're streaming
no.
it from the server. That's a server error.
You should be able to see that though if you go to the runtime logs.
Okay, let's see if we can debug this. Function unexpected field. At mypage.uid. Oh, you know what? I bet what it is that we haven't created a page yet. Yep, we don't actually have any page documents created. That's why. So let's create one. We're going to create a homepage document. So I'm just going to give it an ID of home and call this homepage. And then I'm going to add my hero text slice here. So we'll call that coding camp fall 2023.
I feel like I used to own that domain name.
Coding camp? Oh yeah, this might be copyright infringement. And then let's go back and redeploy. That's definitely what it was. It will throw an error if you don't have any matching documents published. So that's probably what we're dealing with here.
So if you want to deploy, I own codingcamp.dev.
You do? Really?
Yeah.
Is that a domain that you're planning to do something with?
At one point I was. Probably not anymore. How
many domains do you own?
It's kind of gotten less embarrassing, I'll say it that way. The whole changing of Google domains and selling to Squarespace has really got my world rocked. So,
oh no, yeah. Okay, let's take a look. Is this working now? There we go. So on the deployed website, and you'll see when you create a project with Prismic and SvelteKit, it creates this route called Slice Simulator. And you don't need to worry really about what this is. Like you never have to touch this code. But this is, when we're here, this is where the preview of the slice comes from. And then when you deploy your website, it actually deploys this like little mini app, which your users will never see. But it's just there because it's going to generate previews of your components for you. So if we do this, save, we can get live previews of our components. Wow. Isn't that cool? But that didn't work.
I was like, it's not updating. Yesterday it was
live.
There it goes. It's like not being reactive like it's supposed to be. Or is it is doing something in there? I see it moving.
You can see it moving, but it's not happening. It's not happening live.
Well, it is. The heading is not going. Oh wait, no, nothing is going in there. It will delete it live. So this is why this is not live yet. This still has a couple of months before this gets published, right?
You know, it's funny. I think it was when Alex was on, we were having trouble because of a country issue. Or maybe that was Storyblok. I don't remember now. We've had too many CMSs.
Is it showing it and it's just white text on a white background? Because it was like
Yeah, that
bigger.
that is what's happening. It's probably white text because I'm in dark mode. So let's see if I switch to light mode.
Haha. Big brain. I'm like, something is moving in that box. Yeah.
So
You're gonna have to report that one back.
Yeah. So this URL is actually a mini app. You can't access it from the browser, but it serves up previews of your slices via an API. So here we can actually get live previews of our slices. And you can type in the text editor and you'll see a live thumbnail. This for us is so big to have live previews. And so you can actually like start mocking up a web page and you get this overview of what the web page looks like in the sidebar.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
For us, this is like such a huge leap forward to actually make the bridge from this like raw data editor to this like rich rendering. And it's such a huge problem. But so
have you guys ever thought about just combining that? So like making the previews the actual page? I'll show you something after we get done.
Okay, you're kind of like turning my brain inside out there for a second.
Okay.
I mean, but basically they are. There's not a lot of magic happening here.
Right.
Like this is just an iframe. It's getting the data from here. Like if there's any special markup on the page, it's not very much. Like this is actually, for what's happening to me, this is actually shockingly like low tech. There's not like a lot of heavy lifting happening behind the scenes to make this happen, which makes it more robust, which is why I say it. It's like this should work in a lot of cases.
And so you're at this point, just to clarify for people, this is where your marketing team is creating a page, right?
Yes, exactly. So your marketing team can see what the page looks like as they're editing it. And then, I mean, on the flip side, and again, I said there's like this kind of cycle of like the developer works in the code base and creates the models. They push them to the CMS. The marketing team creates the content in the CMS and it gets pulled back into the application, right? So like if you are a developer, you're getting actually a very similar experience with what you're creating. So if you use a simulator, this is using mock content, but it's a very similar experience. You can see here, like I'm a developer, I'm editing. Again, this is white text on a white background because I'm in dark mode right now. But it's kind of important to our philosophy that like the editor and the developer get a really similar experience, so that it creates a kind of shared understanding of how the website is built. And for us, what we're designing, the experience that we're designing, the architecture that we're designing is websites are built of slices. And this is a slice. And the users who we've onboarded to this way of thinking, it's like we have content creators who have been working on websites for years or decades, and they look at this concept of slices and the slice zone, these thumbnails like this, thinking of a website almost like a slide deck or something, and they go like, oh, I get it. Like this is how a website is designed. It's blocks of content. And it might sound novel. I think it might also, we've got the drag and drop happening now too, which is awesome. It might sound kind of like a novel idea, but if you think about it, like block elements are fundamental to HTML.
Yep.
Like almost every website is built out of blocks. We're just kind of like running with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a marketer to understand like flex layout, like you're good because
Yeah.
like all of a sudden everything's a block and it'll move, on mobile and like all that fun stuff. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
So
Love it.
if you wanted to watch me for another couple of hours, I would go ahead and I would build a whole event website as promised. But basically, this is what we're doing. And if you look at like
I think we'll
Prismic.io,
put that link in our description.
just Sam farting around all evening. But like this is built with Slice Machine, and it looks like a really complicated layout, but it's the same thing. It's a series of blocks.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then they're reusable too. Like if you ever want to use that
Exactly.
tab thing that's in there, like use that on another page. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So you said that you had something to show me that had to do with
I'll show you after the
making-
pod. I
right,
think we gotta jump into our perfect picks now.
Yeah.
And I hate to put you on the spot, but yours is up first.
I've been racking my brain, and you know what? After this, I'm gonna walk home, and me and my wife are gonna binge a few more episodes of Mad Men. I watched it. I don't think I actually watched all of it, but when it was airing, I was watching it, and I enjoyed it a lot. But we've been binging it, doing a rewatch, and it is so good, and just like really enjoyable, really, really beautiful. Kind of like I love the pacing of it. After a stressful day, it just like moves so slowly. It's a great show.
You feel like grabbing like a scotch with Don and hanging out for a while?
Yeah, it's really making me want to drink. I do not have any scotch on hand, but if I did, it would be gone by now.
It was a different world that they lived in back then, that's for sure. Britt, your pick is up next.
All right, yeah. So we binged through Foundation season 2. I think it got released in like 2 sets of episodes, but or maybe it was week to week. I don't remember. The beginning of the season was kind of a slug to get through, but after the first couple of episodes and you get through that, the end of the season was just so good. And this morning we had the Svelte Radio episode, and Sean Swix was talking about it, and he was like, it has a Game of Thrones feel to it, where episode 9 is always like their big budget episode. And so just wait for episode 9.
I think I'm on 4, and I'm glad to hear it picks up a little bit because it's been a little bit.
It does. It feels very slow, and then it just starts picking up, and by the end of the season, you're just like, oh my God, it's so good.
I think this also has a Mad Men connection because it has Jared Harris, right? The British guy.
Yep. I think he's
He
right.
also told me something interesting about it that I did not know, that they, not to give too much away about the show, but they created the Cleon dynasty just for the TV show, because the book series like spans thousands of years. And to do that without like the characters changing too much, like they had to create something that would kind of eclipse that. And so they created the 3 people, the clones for that.
That's like a big part of the show. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's what people like about the show, which is weird for books to TV series. They usually don't like the thing that they create, but this is the one thing. This is an exemption to that.
That's where that Henry Cavill show got in trouble, right?
Yeah, that's what they said.
The Witcher. Yeah.
They said the same thing, The Witcher, yeah. And then he left Superman too, and he's gonna do Warhammer now, I think.
Oh, nice. Wow. Mine is up next as my camera freezes, apparently. There it is.
Oh, it's really good.
So Bun 1.0 came out. I think it might have been, a week ago now-ish. And it was a great video. I don't know who they got for their production team, but it kind of reminded me of Vercel's production team. So there's something interesting going on there. But some of the numbers coming out of this are somewhat mind-blowing, like the Bun package manager and like this, like ESBuild comparisons. I wish I could find the package manager. Like compared to NPM, it is just mind-blowingly fast. So it's definitely worth checking out. And they're also addressing like ESM modules and like things like that like everybody has that pain that goes through bringing those in, and they've covered that. So definitely check out Bun. I tried it with a Next.js setup. It really didn't make sense to me to do that yet, but I felt that way about a lot of things like Vite too. And then all of a sudden it was like everything's on Vite. So who knows? We'll see. Now that's kind of coming around.
I'm wondering the same thing. I'm like, where does it make sense, and like how does it
There you go.
come into like these new technologies? And I did hear something that maybe like it's going to be slow to support newer features, and Kevin said that it's on what WebKit is built on.
Yeah.
So it will be on the same level of support as WebKit, so Safari.
Yeah, which is interesting.
I was like, that's kind of slow, isn't it?
Well, it used to be, and I
It
feel like
is much
it's
faster
changing.
now.
Yeah,
But that's for CSS, and I feel like that's a big part is due to Jen Simmons being there. But I don't know about JavaScript and WebKit much.
Yeah, they've adopted a lot, like especially around HTML standards. They're getting those a lot faster now. The interesting thing to me, excuse me, the interesting thing is they've even put in newer tech that like Chrome doesn't have. So there's something interesting kind of going down the road there. But
that stuff.
I mean, Bun's numbers are amazing, especially around like WebSockets.
Yeah, I'm really interested in it for the speed and for the ESM to CJS stuff.
Yes.
That would be like a huge lifesaver. I'm like, if we can get this in something like Bun, why can we not get it in Node? And they're like, it's just written fundamentally different, I guess. Yeah. But it's so frustrating for package managers to try to deal with the two worlds.
Yeah, I think Dino's in the same boat, right? Like they had to finally cave and like.
Well, Dino's just ESM. They focus purely on the future.
Right. I thought they finally backed off, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. They allowed Node.
Maybe they did. They do let you download from npm now, so maybe they did. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, I haven't touched Dino in a while.
I think
my second pick, which I forgot to add.
I think Sam was trying to say something.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
No worries. I mean, I think it sounds cool. I just, for me, for something to really compete, it probably has to be like 10 times as good, like that's kind of the scale of the competition. The ESM thing, the ESM CJS thing is cool, but is it good enough to get, most people to convert? I feel like I don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like it's going to take a year, 2 years to like really start to go, oh, well, I would do it because of X, Y, and Z, and the speed is going to be one of those big parts of it. But I mean, there's Node's on what, 13, something like that. It's been around forever, so like to catch up to it.
Node's on like 18, 20.
Yeah, 18. Sorry, it's just been around so long that like it's kind of ridiculous to think something can just jump out of the gate and like be equal with it. Now, if it can, fantastic, and you're getting the speed improvements, now it's like, okay, it's in the conversation. Like, it's interesting. So I don't know. We'll see.
Vite did do that. So, I mean.
Right. And we didn't think we all knew like we wanted something outside of Webpack and all that jazz, but like Vite was kind of unexpected, and then it was just there, and it's in everything. So I guess we'll see.
True.
My second pick is more DevRel-y. So this is an article by Nathan Peck, and it just is titled "What I've Learned from 6 Years as a Dev Advocate at AWS." And the interesting thing in this article, one, everyone knows who's ever listened to this show, I'm image heavy. Like for me to understand something, I need an image, and it's full of them, which is like the best thing ever. The second piece, there's a whole like, when a dev asks what a developer advocate does, breakdown in this, and I'm like, oh, I need that because I can never like quite answer. There's so many things that I've done at this job or a different job, and like they're all different too. So it's like, how about we talk about 20 things and we can pick what dev advocates do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great article if you're ever interested in developer advocacy.
If we're talking about developer rating, and we're allowed to do a second pick, can I actually throw something out that I thought was really great this week?
You can pick away. Let's do it.
I'm going to keep going. Ben Myers wrote a blog post called "I'm a Spotless Giraffe." I'll drop it in the chat here. I thought it was fantastic. It's about AI and disability, and I thought
Shout
it
out to
was.
Ben Myers. I have
thought
his
it was
HTML shirt. I love it.
it
Oops.
was so well said and so thoughtful, and it articulated like so many of my own anxieties about AI and some of the things that I worry about. I think it's really great. It's something that everyone should be thinking about.
Oh,
So shout
that's
out to
really
Ben
cool.
Myers, and hat tip to Alex Trost who posted it on LinkedIn, which is where I
Yeah,
saw
we
it.
might have to have Ben back on. Love having him on as guest. So.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, Sam, thank you so much for showing us a little slice of your life. I don't know.
Love it.
I got nothing.
Puns. Right.
We'll have
Slice
to
of life.
chat about our traveling adventures some more. That's pretty awesome that you're in Italy.
Yeah, I want to know more of your hot tips for life in Tuscany.
Yes, for sure. All right, y'all. Catch you later.
Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
See ya.